and welcome to In the Papers, where we bring you the latest headlines, breaking news, and major developments, and key names making news today. From government officials to industry leaders and community voices, giving you clear updates, accurate details, and everything you need to stay informed at a glance. I am Inioluwa Adekoya, and with me this morning is
Florence Ibarima.
And this morning I've got with me the Punch newspaper, the Cable newspaper, the Nation newspaper, and This Day newspaper. We
have stories from the Hope newspaper this morning. We have news headlines from the Punch newspaper. We have news headlines from the Daily Post newspaper. We have news headlines from the Nation's newspaper this morning.
Yes, right about now we'll take a short break. When we get back, we'll give you headlines making rounds in these papers this morning.
Yeah, glad to have you back. The program is still in the papers on your darling station, IPower 102.7 FM. And yes, beginning from the home front, the Hope newspaper this morning, we have alimentary influx sparks security welfare concern in Akure.
And on the Punch newspaper, talking UK visit, federal government alleges plot to embarrass Tinubu.
Away from the Hope newspaper this morning, we have this one coming to you from the Punch newspaper, where we have Lagos $25 million education fund to enroll 50,000 out of school children, says Sanwo-Olu.
Still on the Punch newspaper, US probes Nigeria, others in labor rights crackdown.
Still on the Punch newspaper this beautiful morning, we have Tinubu orders nationwide rice distribution for Ramadan and Lent.
Still on the Punch newspaper, family apologizes over viral Edo school bullying incident.
Yes, still on the Punch newspaper this beautiful morning, we have Kwara unveils committee to reclaim encroached school lands.
And now I take a flight to the Nation newspaper. Lamido, Wike-backed caretaker holds key to PDP's reconciliation.
Yeah, talking 2027, and this is from the Punch newspaper this morning. Nigeria risk Abacha era crisis over electoral manipulation, and that was from Utomi.
Still on the Nation newspaper, state FCT to share 92.8 billion naira from withholding tax reforms.
Away from the Punch newspaper this morning, and now to the Nation's newspaper, and we have this one from Umayi. It says Tinubu has repositioned Southeast.
Still on the Nation newspaper, federal government uncovers foreign firms blackmail plot during Tinubu's UK's visit.
Yeah, still on the Nation's newspaper this morning, we have a council chair leaves expectant months with free transport.
And now to the Cable newspaper, ADC questions subsidy savings, says petrol price up nearly 500% under Tinubu.
Still on the Nation's newspaper this morning, we have experts decries kidney treatment cost.
Still on the Cable newspaper and still talking ADC, Sokoto rep quits PDP, joins ADC.
Still taking headlines from the Daily Post, we have Akwa Ibom residents grown as fuel price prolonged blackout eat other.
And now to This Day newspaper, NLC demands wage increase to cushion effects of rising fuel price.
And finally, from my end, taking headline from Daily Post, where we have FAN announces arrest of bandits at Akure Airport.
And on This Day newspaper, LP rules out boycott of 2027 elections.
We would go on a short break. When we come back, we'll start with the major headlines from today's headlines. glad to have you back. The program is still in the papers. And now I have this one coming to you from the Hope newspaper this morning. We have Alimanjari's influx sparks security and welfare concern in Akure. Now the details. Rising security and welfare concern have emerged in Akure, the Ondo state capital, following the increasing number of Alimanjari children, both boys and girls, roaming major streets, markets, and residential areas without supervision. Rising security and welfare concern have emerged in the Ondo state capital. Findings from the Hope reveal that the Alimanjaris, most of whom are of school age, are regularly seen at strategic locations such as Ojaoba, Old Garage, Cathedral, Isikon, Arakale, Ijoka, major bus stops, and along busy traffic corridors within the metropolis, raising up questions about their safety, public security, and the long-term implications for the state. Residents who spoke to our correspondent warned that unless the challenge of a swelling population of uneducated and unskilled children is addressed, the possibility of a serious security threat in the future is immense. Speaking on condition of anonymity, a security expert described the situation as silent emergency. He warned any society that allows a large number of children to grow without education, skill, or proper social orientation is planting seeds of insecurity. In the next 15 to 20 years, the consequences may be difficult to contain. Further investigations show that many of the Alimanjari children survive through street begging and menial jobs, exposing them to exploitation, abuse, and possible recruitment into criminal networks. For details of that story, see the Hope newspaper with this headline. Alimanjari influx sparks security and welfare concern in Akure.
And now to the Punch newspaper. UK visit. Federal government alleges plot to embarrass Tinubu. And now to the details. The federal government says it has uncovered an attempt by the embattled mining company Jupiter Limited to launch what it described as a campaign of calumny against Nigerians during the planned state visit of President Bola Tinubu to the United Kingdom following a dispute over revoked mineral licenses. The Ministry of Solid Mineral Development said the alleged move was aimed at discrediting the federal government's reforms in the mining sector and misleading the international community about the circumstances surrounding the revocation of certain mineral licenses. It said the company and its associates were allegedly preparing to circulate what it termed as misleading claims about the Nigerian mining sector to discredit the government's ongoing reforms. In a statement issued recently by the Special Assistant on Media to the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Segun Tomori, the minister insisted the allegation that Nigerians seized a British lithium project under armed guards were false and misleading. Tomori said the federal government had no legal or contractual relationship with any company known as Jupiter Lithium, stressing the Nigerian mining laws prohibit foreign companies from directly holding mineral titles. The statement reads, and I quote, "It has come to our attention of the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development and that an embattled mining firm, Jupiter Limited, plans to orchestrate a campaign of calumny against the federal government of Nigeria during the state visit of President Bola Tinubu to the United Kingdom." Earlier in the week, the special advisor to the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Kehinde Bamigbeton, authored a robust response to a tissue of falsehood sponsored by Jupiter Limited in the publication titled Nigerian Seizes British Lithium Project Under Armed Guards. Our response, titled The Nigerian Mining Sector, the Law is No Respecter of Persons, exposed the antics of one Steve Davis and Amish MacDonald, whose deceitful enterprise in the mining sector eventually met the full weight of the law. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Punch newspaper with the headline, Federal Government Alleges Plot to Embarrass Tinubu.
Yes, away from the Hope newspaper from my end, and now to the Punch, where we have Zamfara approves early payment of March salaries. Now the details. Zamfara state government has approved the early payment of March salaries to all civil servants and pensioners across the state ahead of the forthcoming Eid celebration. The measure is aimed at easing financial pressure on workers and retirees and enable them to make adequate preparation for the Salah festivities. In a statement on Monday signed by the State Commissioner for Information and Culture, Muhammad Dan Tawaza, the government said necessary arrangements have been concluded to ensure the prompt payment of salaries and pension to all beneficiaries across the state. Governor Dauda Lawal reaffirmed that the state is administration's commitment to the welfare of civil servants and pensioners and assured that his government will continue to prioritize policies that improve the well-being of workers and retirees. For details of that story, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Zamfara approves the early payment of March salaries.
Still on the Punch newspaper, US probes Nigeria, others in labor rights crackdown. And now to the details. The United States government has launched a trade investigation into Nigeria and 59 other countries over their alleged failure to prevent the importation of goods produced in forced labor. In a notice released by the Office of the United States Trade Representative and obtained by Newsman, the U.S. said it had begun a formal probe under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974 to examine whether the trade practices of the affected economies are unreasonable or discriminatory and whether they burden American commerce. The notice was signed by the General Counsel at the Office of the United States Trade Representative, Jennifer Thornton. The investigation was initiated on March 12, 2026, will examine whether Nigeria and other listed economies have failed to introduce or effectively enforce bans on the importation of goods made with forced labor. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Punch newspaper with the headline US probes Nigeria, others in labor rights crackdown.
Still on the Punch newspaper, we have this headline coming to you, and it says that Tinubu orders nationwide rice distribution for Ramadan and Lent. Now the details. Renewed Hope Ambassador, a political support group of President Bola Tinubu, has received directives from the President to distribute rice nationwide in support of citizens observing Ramadan and Lenten fast. This was disclosed by the Director General of the Renewed Hope Ambassadors and Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma in a statement on Saturday. According to the statement, the exercise was aimed at strengthening national unity and demonstrating compassion during a period that holds deep spiritual significance for both Muslims and Christians. Uzodinma said the initiative demonstrated the President's commitment to unity and compassion. Through this distribution, the Renewed Hope Ambassador will ensure that families across Nigeria feel the spirit of togetherness during this sacred period. A similar initiative took place last Christmas when rice was distributed to assist the Nigerians during the festive season, demonstrating the administration's ongoing dedication to support citizens at the key religious and cultural times. For details of that story, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Tinubu orders nationwide rice distribution for Ramadan and Lent.
Still on the Punch newspaper, family apologizes over viral Edo school bullying incident. And now to the details. The family of a student involved in a viral bullying incident at Igbinedium Education Center, Benin City, has formally apologized to the victim and his family. The apology follows the circulation of a video showing several male students beating and kicking another student lying on the ground, while a third student recorded the attack. The school management had earlier announced that all students involved had been expelled. In a statement issued recently and signed by Team Asoro on behalf of the Asoro family, the parents expressed shock and deep embarrassment over the incident. The statement reads, and I quote, "Watching the video has been one of the most distressing and heartbreaking experiences of our lives as parents. We've watched it with shock, sadness, and deep embarrassment. As a family, we are ashamed that our child was involved in the conduct that caused pain and distress to another student. The family apologized directly to the victim and his relatives, noting that no child deserves to be treated in such manner. To the students who was affected, we want to say from the depths of our hearts that we are truly sorry. No child deserves to be treated that way. As parents, we cannot begin to imagine how frightening and awful the moment must have been for him. Our hearts go out to him and his family." While the family expressed relief that medical reports confirmed victim was physically unharmed, they acknowledged seriousness of the incident and the emotional distress it may have caused. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Punch newspaper with the headline, "Family apologizes over viral Edo school bullying incident."
Still talking education from the Punch newspaper, Lagos $25 million education fund to enroll 50,000 out of school children, says Sanwo-Olu. Now the details. The Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has announced that the newly launched Lagos Education Access Fund will target the enrollment of 50,000 out of school children into formal education and improve learning outcome across public schools in the state. Sanwo-Olu, according to a statement on Sunday by the Director Public Affairs of the Lagos State Universal Basic Education, Abe Adola, disclosed this on Friday during the unveiling of the initiative at the ceremony held at the Lagos House Marina. Speaking at the event, Sanwo-Olu reiterated the government's commitment to ensuring that every child in Lagos has access to free and quality basic education. He described education as a crucial driver of social mobility, human capital development, and economic growth. The governor disclosed that the program was supported by a $25 million outcome-based education fund designed to benefit about 200 children across communities in the state. According to him, the initiative will facilitate the enrollment of up to 50,000 out of school children between the ages of 6 and 14 into formal basic education. The statement added that the governor noted that the program would also strengthen foundational literacy and numeric for almost 150 pupils currently enrolled in public schools across the state. He noted that the initiative built on the achievement recorded by the Project Zero, launched in 2021 to identify and reintegrate out-of-school children into the education sector. The governor added that the programs align with the state government scheme, Tessis Plus Development Agenda, particularly the pillar on education and technology, which focuses on strengthening human capital development and building a knowledge-driven society. For details of that story, see the Punch newspaper this morning with this headline, Lagos $25 million education fund to enroll 50,000 out-of-school children, says Sanwo-Olu.
And now to the Nation newspaper, states FCT to share 92.8 billion naira from withholding tax refunds. And now to the details. The Federation Account Allocation Committee, FAC, has recommended that 92.8 billion naira in withholding taxes collected on behalf of Yes, I take that headline again. States FCT to share 92.8 billion naira from withholding tax refunds. And now to the details. The Federation Account Allocation Committee (FAC) has recommended that 92.8 billion naira in withholding taxes collected on behalf be shared amongst them. The sum will be transferred to their account after the reconciliation exercise involving revenue agencies that made the collection. The recommendation followed complaints by some states that withholding taxes collected on their behalf were being paid into the Federation account without proper reconciliation. According to a report of the FAC Post-Mortem Subcommittee from February 2026, the states wrote to the committee and RMAFC requesting a review of outstanding withholding taxes collected for them by the Federal Inland Revenue Services (FIRS), now operating as the Nigerian Revenue Service. To resolve the matter, the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission (RMAFC) engaged in a firm SMD Consulting to carry out the reconciliation with the NRS. The SMD Consulting was said to have found out that 92.8 billion naira is due to the states and the FCT as withholding tax refunds. The report indicated that the amount would be refunded after the agreed consultancy fee is deducted. The FAC post-mortem report also provided updates on many ongoing financial reviews related to the federal account, including the use of the 30% deduction set aside by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPC Limited) for the frontier oil exploration. According to the report, the National Oil Company has already submitted documentation showing the work carried out in various frontier basins, as well as the funds spent on the project. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Nation newspaper with the headline, States FCT to share 92.8 billion naira from withholding tax refunds.
You're still listening to us from iPower 102.7 FM, and the program is in the papers. We would go on a short break. When we come back, we continue the rest of the major headlines for today. Glad to have you back. The program is in the papers, your daily nugget for news making major headlines in today's newspaper. This one coming to you from the Nation's newspaper this morning. It says Nigeria, AU others seeks actions as water crisis threatens food security. Now the details. Nigeria and other member states of the African Union have renewed calls for urgent continental actions to tackle water security, warning that the growing crisis is rapidly undermining food production and threatening millions of livelihoods. At high-level discussion on water, sanitation and digital agriculture, policymakers, researchers and developmental partners caution that declined rainfall, rising temperatures and poor water infrastructures are already reducing farm productivity and intensifying food insecurity across large parts of the continent. In Nigeria, a Nigerian drought condition in 2023 led to about 30% losses in rice and maize production in several northern states, while cultivated maize land declined from 6.2 million hectares in 2021 to about 5.8 million hectares in 2022, according to industry report. Livestock producers also suffered heavy losses as water sources dried up. Industry estimates suggest dehydration and drought-related stress caused losses of nearly 200 billion naira in Nigeria's livestock sector in 2023 alone. According to a wider Sahel region, including Niger, Mali, and Chad, the challenge is even more severe. In some countries, agriculture accounts for about 40 to 50% of national GDP and employs as much as 87% of the workforce, making rural livelihoods highly vulnerable to rainfall variability and desertification. A study by Water Aid and Tree Aid warned that forest losses across Ghana, Niger, and Nigeria is accelerating to decline of freshwater resources and increasing risk for more than 122 million people. The report, which analyzed 12 years of satellite data between 2013 and 2025, found that every 1,000 hectares of forest cleared in Niger and Nigeria, approximately 9.25 hectares of surface water disappears. For details of that story, see the nation's newspaper with this headline: Nigeria, AU others seeks action as water crisis threatens food security.
Still on the Nation newspaper, federal government uncovers foreign firms' blackmail plot during Tinubu's UK visit. And now to the details. A mining firm, Jupiter Limited, plans to disrupt President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's scheduled visit to the United Kingdom. The Ministry of Solid Mineral Development raised an alarm recently. The ministry alleged that the company was orchestrating the campaign of calumny to embarrass the president during the historic two-day state visit in the company of his wife, First Lady Oluremi. Charles III and Queen Camilla will host the president and the First Lady at the Windsor Castle on Wednesday and Thursday. The visit in Nigeria's first state visit in 37 years to the Windsor Castle. But in a statement by the Special Assistant on Media to the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Mr. Segun Tumori, the ministry alleged that the company planned to sponsor a protest and media campaign targeted at discrediting the government of the enforcement of mining regulation. Tumori described the firm claims as a tissue of falsehood designed to distract from the government's efforts to sanitize the mining sector. According to the statement, the controversy stems from the revocation of the mineral titles previously held by Basin Mineral Limited, a Nigerian company reported fronted by Australian national Steve Davis. The ministry said the licenses were revoked after the company failed to pay statutory annual service fees totaling 2 billion naira for mineral titles 45454 ml, 45117 ml, 45118 ml, 40532 ml, and 40533 ml for 2024 and 2025 fiscal year. The statement noted that the government has no direct legal relationship with Jupiter Lithium, as Nigerian law prohibits granting mining licenses directly to foreign entities. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Nation newspaper with the headline: Federal government uncovers foreign firm blackmail plot during Tinubu's UK visit.
Yes, still taking headlines. I have this one from Daily Post, and it says FAN announces arrest of bandits at Akure Airport. Now the details. The Federal Airport Authorities of Nigeria has announced that 4 bandits were arrested at the Akure Airport in Ondo State, Nigeria. FAN's Director of Public Affairs and Consumer Protection, Henry Agbebiri, disclosed this in a statement on Sunday. It said the bandits were arrested within the vicinity of the airport by its security, the Air Force, NAF, the Nigerian Army, and the Nigerian Police Force, NPF, and local invigilators. Upon coordinated response, FAN assured the traveling public and airport host communities of its unwavering commitment to maintaining safety and security. For details of that story, see the Post newspaper with this headline: FAN announces arrest of bandits at Akure Airport.
And now I take a flight to the cable newspaper. ADC questions subsidy savings, says petrol price up nearly 500% under Tinubu. And now to the details. The African Democratic Congress says petrol prices have increased by nearly 500% since President Bola Tinubu assumed office. Bolaji Abdullahi, National Publicity Secretary of the party, made this claim while responding to criticism from All Progressive Congress (APC) in a statement recently. The ruling party had accused the ADC of inciting Nigerians through its comments on economic reforms introduced by Tinubu's administration. Abdullahi said the opposition party was highlighting public available data on the economic situation of the country. It said reports indicate that the Nigerian's poverty rate has risen to 63% from about 50% before the removal of the petrol subsidy, adding that the figure reflects the human cost of administrative economic policy. It further stated the independent surveys show that many Nigerians believe the country is moving in the wrong direction. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the cable newspaper with the headline ADC questions subsidy savings, says petrol price up nearly 500% under Tinubu.
A quick look on the Guardian newspaper where we have Sanwo-Olu's free medical outreach for police will enhance efficiency, says DIG Zone 2. Now the details. The ongoing Assistant Inspector General AIG of Police in charge of Zone 2, Deputy Inspector General DIG Adegoke Fayoade, has expressed excitement and gratitude to Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu for prioritizing the health of police officers, saying that the initiative will enhance personnel's efficiency and effectiveness in the discharge of their duty. Fayoade, now promoted to DIG of Police, commended Sanwo-Olu for supporting the welfare of police officers through a free eye care outreach program organized by officers under the Zone 2 command. The three-day medical outreach, which began on Wednesday and ended at the weekend, provided over 1,000 police officers of the Zone 2 with free eye screening, prescription glasses, and general medical checkups. The new DIG Fayoade, while speaking at the program closing ceremony, expressed appreciation to the Lagos State government for the initiative, noting that the health intervention would greatly improve the well-being and the efficiency of officers in the discharge of their duties. According to him, when officers are healthy and physically fit, they are better positioned to perform their responsibility effectively. Also speaking, the facilitator of the program, Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on Transport and Logistics, Azan Adekoya, said the initiative reflects Sanwo-Olu's commitment to the welfare of security personnel, stressing that the safety and prosperity of the state depend largely on the well-being of those tasked with protecting lives and properties. For details of that story, see the Guardian newspaper with this headline. Sanwo-Olu's free medical outreach for police will enhance efficiency, says DIG Zone 2.
And now to this day newspaper. NLC demands wage increase to cushion effect of rise in fuel price. And now to the details. The Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) has asked the federal government and state government to urgently grant wage awards and cost of living allowances (COLA) to all workers to cushion the effect of the high cost of living. NLC cautioned against allowing estimated 30 trillion naira oil windfall expected to occur to Nigeria as a result of the current Middle East war go the way of the Gulf oil windfall that was largely unaccounted for, against the skyrocketing price of premium motor spirit resulting from the ongoing United States-Israeli war against Iran. NLC said millions of Nigerian workers were bearing the brutal cost of the global capitalist crisis they did not create. In a statement signed by the NLC President Joe Ajaero, the Labour Centre said petrol prices in Nigeria has skyrocketed to between 1,170 and 1,300 per litre. It said the cost of PMS and AGO had made transportation and news around workers' necks, while food inflation was galloping and major wages were being swallowed by induced scarcity. NLC lamented the current wages were now mere stipends of starvation The statement reads, and I quote, the Nigerian Labour Congress subsequently demands an immediate wage award and cost of living allowance COLA for all workers to cushion the high cost of living, an expansion and overhaul of cash transfers to ensure transparency that they reach the most vulnerable with increased value to match inflation, immediate tax relief for workers, and a stoppage of all regressive taxes on low income earners include the proposed tax on the informal economy. The labor movement stated that taxing of minimum wage amounted to extortion, and it further urged the federal government to set a timeline for the full-scale operationalization of the public refineries. It further warned about the danger of sabotaging the national refineries to creating a monopoly, adding that no country achieves economic freedom by exporting jobs and importing prices. NLC stated, when a worker cannot afford to go to work, the economy stops. When a family cannot afford 3 meals a day, society sits on a keg of gunpowder. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on this day newspaper with the headline, NLC demands wage increase to cushion effects of rising fuel price.
You can reach us on our social media handle at iPower1027FM, iPower1027 on Facebook, TikTok, and X, formerly Twitter, and of course on Instagram, iPower1027FM. Also, you can reach us via our studio line is 0816552469 for reactions and comments regarding the headlines read this morning. Now, still on the Daily Post newspaper from Akwa Ibom, where we have Akwa Ibom residents have grown as fuel price and a prolonged blackout eats harder. Now, the details. The sudden hike in price of fuel and the prolonged blackout in Akwa Ibom State is taking a toll on the people, especially business owners. Livelihood and social economy activity in the oil-rich states are at the lowest, yet a remedy is nothing in sight. The Daily Post report that residents, while battling to come to terms with the outrageous fuel pump price of 1,300 naira with the attendant hardship, while with a blackout which has lasted for almost 3 weeks, crippling businesses. A short distance initially charged for 100 naira by tricyclists is now 200 naira. A cold sachet water sold at 2 for 50 naira is now 100 naira. Same goes for photocopying of materials, which formerly cost 50 naira per page, now at 100 naira. A resident of the community of Afanga Ube in Uyo and the Akwa Ibom State capital, identified as Chimobi, who sells a ice block, narrated how his business has been grounded since the blackout, as he can't afford to buy fuel at 1,300 naira per liter to power his generator for the business. Household also have been at the sad tales about the outrage, or as most of the women interviewed in the report have one thing in common: they are unable to cook in large quantities to preserve in the fridge. However, the Port Harcourt Electricity Distribution Company (PHDC), in a statement in the weekend, attributed the current power outrage to a line fault on the Aba Itu 132 kV line. The statement assured that power would be restored as soon as possible, as the relevant teams were working to ensure that effective, urging residents to be more patient. For details of that story, see the Daily Post newspaper with this headline: Akwa Ibom residents groan as fuel price and the prolonged blackout eat harder.
Still on this day newspaper, court orders arrest of businessman over alleged 1.2 billion naira fraud. And now to the details. Justice Alexander Owoye of the Federal High Court in Lagos has issued a warrant for the arrest of a Nigerian businessman, Roland Oluwasegun Elusoji, over his alleged involvement in a 1.2 billion naira fraud. The arrest order, contained in a warrant marked Form E, was issued and signed by the judge on February 18, 2026, following an application by the prosecution. The court directed the Nigerian police and other security agencies to arrest the defendant wherever he may be found and produce him before the court. Olusoji was scheduled to appear before the court on February 18, 2026, to take a plea on charges bordering on conspiracy, obtaining money under false pretense, and money laundering involving the sum of 1.2 billion naira. The charges were filed by operatives of the police Special Fraud Unit PSFU Ikoyi Lagos in a suit marked FHC/L/583C/2025. In charge, the PSFU accused Elusoji of two others, Oladijo Fumilayo Grace and Abiola Oluwasegun, who are currently at the large of committing the alleged offense on November 30th, 2024 in Lagos. According to the prosecution, the defendant fraudulently obtained the money from Otumba Sheye Famojuri under the pretense of purchasing a luxury vehicle and real estate property on his behalf. The prosecutor, Barrister Achi Kelab, a chief superintendent of police CSP, told the court that the alleged offences are contrary to Section 8, subsection 1 and 1A and punishable under Section 1, subsection 3 of the Advanced Free Fraud and Other Related Offences Act 2006. He further stated that the alleged acts contravene Section 21A and are punishable under Section 18, subsection 2 of the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on This Day newspaper with this headline: Court orders arrest of businessman over alleged 1.2 billion naira fraud.
Still on the pages of the Guardian newspaper this morning, talking 2027. MCE Utomi alleged threat to democracy seeks intervention. Now the details. Movement for Credible Election MCE has warned that Nigerians' democracy face a serious threat ahead of the 2027 general elections, alleging attempt to manipulate electoral laws and weaken public confidence in the electoral process. Speaking at the briefing in Lagos yesterday, the group led by Professor Pat Utomi expressed concern over growing constitutional violations and declining electoral participation. On his part, human rights lawyers, poets, and governorship aspirants of the African Democratic Congress ADC in Oyo State, Niyi Aborishade, called for a transparent and accountable 2027 general elections, insisting that Nigerians are tired of electoral manipulation and want their votes to count. Relatively, human rights lawyer and activist Dele Farotimi described Nigerians' electoral process as a hollow ritual that masquerades as democracy, warning that citizens lack a genuine power to determine leadership outcome. Utomi told journalists that recent developments surrounding the 2026 Electoral Act and actions by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) suggest a reckless desperation by those in power, warning that continued interference would erode the legitimacy of the Nigerian state. According to him, vote turnout trend indicated deepening public delusionment with the electoral system, citing recent election in Abuja, where participation allegedly fell below 10% of registered voters. It warned that persistent vote apathy would trigger social instability if citizens lose faith in democratic processes. MCE accused electoral authorities of acting in alignment with the ruling establishment and interfering in the internal affairs of political parties, a move it argued undermines constitutional guarantees for freedom of association. For details of that story, see the Guardian newspaper with this headline: MCE Utomi alleged threat to democracy seeks intervention.
Still on this day newspaper, LP rules out boycott of 2027 elections. And now to the details. The Labour Party has dismissed reports that it might boycott the 2027 general elections, saying instead its focus was on addressing the weakness that affected its performance during the 2023 polls. The interim national chairman of the party, Ninadi Usman, clarified the party's position while speaking to newsmen on the sidelines on the unveiling of the party's e-registration portal in Abuja. Our remarks came amid rising tensions in the country's political space following threats by the Inter-Party Advisory Council to mobilize political parties to boycott the 2027 elections if certain provisions in recently enacted Electoral Act 2026 amendment were not reviewed. Responding to the questions on whether the Labour Party would align with the proposed boycott, Usman said the party would not adopt a bandwagon approach, stressing that political parties faced different challenges. She said, and I quote, every political party has its peculiarities, but borders another political party may not be what is bothering the Labour Party at the moment. She further noted that issues such as transmission of election results through INEC Result Viewing Portal (IREV) were not the party's primary concern. According to her, the Labour Party's biggest challenge during the 2023 election was inability to deploy agents to all polling units across the country. Reflecting further on the 2023 presidential election, Usman said the absence of polling agents made it difficult for the party to present documentary evidence in court when it challenged the outcome of the election. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on this day newspaper with the headline, LP rules out boycott of 2027 elections.
Still on Daily Post newspaper where we have we want to return home and farm displaced people of Bokos cry out. Now the details. The displaced people of Bokos, a coalition of persons who have been dislodged and chased out of their ancestral land in Bokos local government area of Plateau State by Fulani bandits, terrorists and land grabbers, have cried out to Governor Caleb Muftwang to fulfill his promise of facilitating their return. The group, in an open letter addressed to the governor on Monday, lamented that due to their displacement and the takeover of their land by bandits, they have been forced to live like destitute in internally displaced persons, IDPs, camps begging for food to eat. At the same time, their children have turned into beggars, and their wives and daughters have resorted to prostitution in a bid to survive, they lamented. The open letter, which was signed by the coordinator of the displaced people, Margot Alfred, Michael Malo, and David Arondong, respectively, and made available to Daily Post, said it was disheartening, and despite several promises by the state government that they would soon go back to their land, nothing was being done on the part of the government as they have been abandoned to their fate. The group also decried the fact that while their fertile land lie wasted as the occupiers are not farmers, they have been exposed to severe hardship, hunger, and deprivation. For details of that story, see Daily Post newspaper with this headline, we want to return home and farm. Displaced people of Bokos cry out.
Still on this day newspaper, Bala Mohammed defects to APC tomorrow. And now to the details. Except the unintended happens, all appears set for the governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, to join the ruling All Progressive Congress APC tomorrow, Tuesday, in furtherance of his political sojourn. Recent reports had exclusively reported Mohammed's plan to quit the People's Democratic Party today after recently meeting President Bola Tinubu and the APC leadership. His prospective membership of the APC was said to have been cemented following several discussions in the last couple of weeks. The ruling APC is said to have conceded to him 60-40% power sharing formula and ticket to the Senate. However, the contentious issue to be resolved is whether Bala Muhammad will be allowed to nominate a successor. According to sources, the president was said to have insisted on handing over the structure of the APC in the state to the party leadership and not any individual on account of the political sensitivity of the state, which borders many power centers and tendencies. This is because, for example, people like the Minister of Health, Ali Pater, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Toga, and an oil and gas professional, Bala Wunti, all from the state, are also interested in governorship. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on this day newspaper with the headline, Bala Muhammad defects to APC tomorrow.
Yes, and lastly from Daily Post, talking monthly sanitation. Falana fought Lagos government over movement restrictions. Now the details. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana, SAN, has criticized the decision of Lagos state government to reintroduce a monthly environmental sanitation exercise that restricts movement for 3 hours on the last Saturday of every month. Falana described the policy as a sad reminder of what he called one of the primitive practices inherited from Nigerians' default military regime. In a statement issued on Sunday while reacting to the move, the senior advocate of Nigeria urged that the planned reintroduction of sanitation exercise could not be justified, particularly in view of the state environmental budget. He noted that the 2026 appropriation law of Lagos State allocated about 236 billion naira to environmental matters, including urban waste management and sanitation, stressing that lawmakers had approved the fund to improve waste management system across the state. According to him, rather than devoting time to and resources to enforcing restrictions on residents' movement, the government should prioritize the recruitment of more sanitation workers and the acquisition of modern equipment such as mechanical sweepers for heavy debris and vacuum sweepers to handle dust and litters. Fanana also reminded the state government of the legal precedent established in the case of Faith Okafor, Lagos state government, which he said declared movement restrictions during environmental sanitation as illegal and unconstitutional. He explained that the case involved a woman, Faith Okafor, who was arrested on May 25, 2013 for allegedly violating a restriction of movement imposed during the monthly sanitation exercise between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. Okafor was reportedly taken into custody alongside several others and arraigned before Special Offences Court, where she pleaded guilty and was fined 2,000 naira for wandering and loitering during the sanitation period. For details of that story, see the Daily Post newspaper with this headline: Monthly Sanitation. Falana fought the Lagos State government over movement restrictions.
The program you're still onto is in the papers and it's coming to you from no other station but iPower 102.7 FM. At the time has come for us to call it a wrap on the program this morning, but before we do that, we'll go on a short break. Glad to have you back. Like I said earlier, the program is in the papers on iPower 102.7 FM. And with that, we've come to a wrap on today's edition of In the Papers on iPower 102.7 FM. We hope this review has kept you informed of conversations making rounds in the papers this morning. Until next time, I am Inioluwa Adekoya. Stay tuned to iPower 102.7 FM for more programs coming your way shortly. And with me this morning,
Florence E. Barima. Many thanks for listening. Good morning.
Good morning.